Welcome to HIT Podcast, H.I.T, Human Resources, Insurance, and Technology. I'm your host, Toby Kennedy. As we do every week, we're dropping into your feed on Tuesdays with what I hope are bite-sized, digestible, and well-curated conversations going on in the space. Today's episode will be no exception. I'm very excited to bring my guest on. Today's episode is brought to you by Montage Insurance Solutions. Without any further ado, Dr. Joey, how are you, sir?
I am trying to be good today. I am positive every day. How about yourself,
I
Toby?
love
You
that.
doing well, man?
So let me just ask you, if you don't mind, give the audience a sort of quick overview of who's Dr. Joey, how do you find yourself here today, and what are some of the things that you're seeing are great conversations?
So two podcasters walked into a bar. No, that's how Toby and I met. No,
Yeah.
no, actually, I find myself here today with a lot of experience over about 4 decades of helping people create amazing work cultures. And the cool thing is the importance of work culture has become front and center. It was almost like, Toby, during the pandemic, everything got hyper-focused, right? It was like we put everything under a magnifying glass, and we suddenly began to ask some really important questions like what makes work meaningful? How can employees get engaged to be at top productivity and peak performance? Not just to contribute to the profit margins of the company, but discovering that it did contribute to the profit margins of the company, as well as some, shall we say, less obvious benefits that accrued to the persons who were doing the work. So today, with 4, sometimes 5 generations active in certain work cultures, it's an amazing time to be alive and to help people really fulfill their reason for working, as well as helping companies understand their mission and create that positive work culture where people can fulfill their personal missions as well.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like an obvious first question, but like, how do you create positive work cultures? You know, I mean,
Well,
it's such a great big amorphous thing.
it is. It's kind of like the blob that ate New York City. You remember that
Yeah.
old movie? But at the same time, it's a great question because there's so many people who ask that question or some variation of it. Like, Dr. Joey, where do I start? Because they know I'm a positive culture architect. So
Yeah.
that start question is huge. And the thing that I recommend to managers, particularly HR leaders in companies who are really setting the pace and influencing those managers, because mid-level managers are where the action really happens, right? Is just to ask your team, how can I help you today?
Yeah.
Or what can I do for you today? Or depending on your predisposition, how may I best serve you today? How's it going today? Just something to look beyond the typical pro formas, the typical productivity scores and engagement scores and things like that, and to make it more personal so that you as a manager are not only showing interest in that person, but also interest in how that person gains identity through work.
Yeah. Do you find that, okay, so when you phrase the question, like, how can I help you today? Do you find that if you unpack from the employees level, one of their bigger gripes or complaints or something, if they don't have a wonderful relationship with the manager, is that manager appearing helpful for them? Is that why you start there?
Yeah, I'm laughing because that happens. A manager will come back to me and say, "Hey, Dr. Joey, they gave me the side eye when I asked that question."
Yeah.
Like, are you for real? Did you go to a retreat over the
Yeah.
weekend?
Yeah.
That's kind of woo-woo and squishy for you. So what's that all
Yeah.
about? Yeah, if you've not come from that perspective of how may I help you, what can I do to help you today, yeah, they're not going to know how to take that question. So the first time you're going to get a side eye, you're going to get a look that says, "Are you for real? What happened to you? Is this an episode of Invasion of the Body Snatchers or
Yeah.
something?" But you just keep after it. You just keep asking that question. No, really, I truly want to help you, and I want to know what's confounding you. Now, a great follow up on that is for the manager to be kind of vulnerable at that point. More than kind of is helpful, but if you're just easing into this new type of relationship, you might want to be kind of vulnerable and just say, "Well, I know I needed some help recently. I was trying to do XYZ and I didn't know how to get it done. So I went to see my manager, my leader, let's say it was Toby. I went to see Toby and I said, Toby, man, I'm really having some trouble with this. And Toby helped walk me through that, helped me discover the best solution. So it was so impactful for me. I wanted to do that for you. So here you're talking about vulnerability and authenticity. I mean, it's got to be a live event. Don't make up something
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they'll call BS on you. But anyway, just showing that vulnerability. Here's how I was helped, and therefore, since I was helped, I understand the power, and I want to help you. So that's a great way to ease into that transition of a new relationship.
Yeah, so you're saying the mid-manager level is where the action happens. You're saying them going to the team to sort of say, hey, can I be of assistance to you is a good step. Have you seen things that seem a little broken, relationships that seem a little broken at the manager employee level really turn around? I mean, is some how when is it, hey, we've got a good prescription, and how have you seen that play out?
Yeah, well, let me just tweak your version of that question. It's not can I help you, it's how can I help you?
Right.
How may I help you? Because if you ask those closed-ended
Yeah.
questions, it just shuts the conversation down. They just
Yeah.
go, no, I don't need help from you because they think you're just on a fishing expedition to find something you did wrong, and then they're going to ding you for it. The manager will ding you for it. Yeah, we've after that initial shock and awe, if you will, by the employees and the team members to the manager who's trying something different. How may I help you? How may I serve you? Something like that. We really see not only transitions in relationships and healing taking place and repairing of relationships, but the fact of the matter is, SHRM continues to find that somewhere between 57 and 60% of all people leave a job because of a bad boss.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the job itself, it's the person I'm working for,
Yeah.
I just can't stand that. So what happens is the retention level, turnover rates come down and retention actually goes up. We find productivity with a positive work culture averages 30% increase. Then it goes directly to the bottom line, Toby, and this is where you get the CFO and CEO's attention,
Yeah.
right? 28% revenue growth year over year is an average, 19% increase in operating income year over year average. When you're working on having a positive work culture and you're doing the kinds of things that we're talking about here today, the kinds of things that we really do in Work Positive Nation with a Work Positive framework with 5 core practices, and you just begin architecting those into the fabric and the way that your company rolls.
Yeah. So, one piece of advice you're saying, have that manager ask these sorts of questions. What are some of the other things that you see move the needle if you're saying, okay, I am an interested CFO or HR person, I would like that better productivity and bottom line. What are some more nuggets you can help give me over this vehicle as a podcast? Obviously, people can reach out to you, but
Yeah.
here today, what are some other great nuggets we can take away?
Leaders must first care for themselves in ways that positivity is an overflow. If you're just told, "Hey, go out there and be positive," then that's the way you're gonna. I mean, it happens.
Yeah.
What we need around here is a positive attitude. You people get with it. We need to be positive, right?
Yeah.
Well, okay. Telling someone they need to be positive it just hits their prefrontal cortex, which turns to Teflon, right? And every suggestion slides right off of it.
Yeah.
So help me know how to be positive. So first, a leader must do, a couple things. I refer to them as morning and evening routines or habits, or if you want to think of them as rituals. And it just takes about 10 minutes on either side. So just bookend your work day in the morning and the evening. And these are not novel anymore. When I first started teaching them a couple decades ago, they were less well known. But feed your mind something positive in the mornings, whether it's music, if you want to listen to music. We're all Kendrick Lamar fans now, right? So
Yeah.
so we're listening to some awesome music there. Just find something positive. I wouldn't recommend tears in your beer music, but find something positive, whether it's music or literature or something like that. Have something that
Your favorite HR podcast? I'm just kidding.
yeah, well, I'm thinking hit podcast. That just sounds positive right off the
That's me.
bat to me.
Yeah.
So put on the hit and just get something going in there, whether it's reading, podcast, music, whatever you want to do, and then visualize your calendar and visualize around, like a golfer. The good golfers see the ball going in the cup before they ever strike it. The bad golfers, they just look out there and go, it's never going in, and they strike it anyway, right? Just see best outcomes to all the appointments on your calendar for that day. What is the best outcome? You may not have taken time to think about that, whether it's a closed deal or whether it's a new relationship begun or a problem solved. Just visualize those. Then at the end of your day, just take 10 minutes and write down or type in on your iPad or something like that 3 positive experiences you had that day for which you're grateful. Because here's what happens. If you are binge watching murder mysteries on Netflix or something like that, right up till you fall asleep on the sofa watching it, guess what your subconscious is going to work on all night? You're chasing the bad guys, or you're trying to outrun a tornado or something, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're doing all night long. So you're going to wake up more tired than you actually went to bed. Writing down or typing in 3 positive experiences from that day seeds positivity into your subconscious, and that's what you work on all night. So we've actually had clients who drank less and reduced their Ambien to none. I'm not a medical doctor. Don't try this at home without a
Yeah, yeah,
medical doctor advice. But they actually were able to reduce the Ambien altogether, right?
yeah.
Because they seeded these 3 positive experiences from the day. And be sure to make those positive experiences, as you note them in a journal, a gratitude diary, whatever you want to call it, make those Velcro. That is something that can hook, because that's really what Velcro is, as opposed to soap bubble, which lasts about 3 seconds. It's beautiful while it's there, but it'll pop. Be as specific as possible to really hook into that experience, because what you're doing, Toby, is reliving it from the day, and that makes it even more vivid in your dreams that night.
This is such a beautiful conversation. So, okay, what sort of talking through the journey, it's like, hey, there's business and just good vibe reasons to try to work positively. Let's try to get at the mid manager level, them to really sort of engage their employees and how they can help. Let's try to get at the leadership level so that this sort of trickles down, leaders showing positivity. And those are a couple of good kind of habits. Like you said, start your day off well, end it with a gratitude journal. What are a couple of other things that you would say if you're an HR person listening today and you want to implement some of this stuff? What would you tell to that HR person?
I would say that HR person, okay, everybody else is going to tell you go do an engagement survey. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Only do an engagement survey if you will follow up on what you discover.
Yeah.
You are like massively overdrawing your trust bank account with your teams
Yep.
and your employees. If you do an engagement survey and they come into it, well, I remember back in 1979, we did one of these. Ain't nothing changed around here. Ain't nothing gonna change. So, I
Yeah.
mean, that's the attitude they come into those engagement surveys with. So that one thing would be, if you do an engagement survey like everybody else is telling you to do it and plan to implement something you learn
Yeah.
to increase engagement.
Do you find that you then need to remind employees on the back end what you implemented so that they are like, oh yeah, that's right. You guys did do something.
Communication is so important, and despite what we may think, rarely do any of us in leadership ever over communicate. We saturate ourselves in the messaging, and then we assume everyone else is saturated in it too.
Yeah.
So, not only do you want to tell them what you did, here's what you want to do. Really, it's a pretty easy process. First of all, feedback the results of the engagement survey and
Hmm.
say to everyone, here's what we discovered. Here are the results. Then, secondly, you facilitate some collaboration around those results. What do you guys think's driving this particular engagement score? What are some examples you've seen of this? Hey, we did pretty well here. What do you think's contributing to that? Boy, we suck over here on this side. What's that all about? And see, you're engaging them in the interpretation as well, Toby. And so at that point, then they begin to see themselves as a part of the solution. Facilitate a further conversation. Well, what do you think we ought to do about this? What are some tactics, some things that we could do, we could try and experiment with even around here to raise this score or to do more of that high score result?
Yeah.
And see, they're right in there with you all along. And then you just say, oh, and so to your point about the reminder, tell them, hey, here's what we did. We went off into a room, 3 puffs of smoke later, we've got a perfect plan. No, they're engaged every step of the way. So you get them involved in the evaluation. All right, we saw this low score. We agreed we would do ABC. We did ABC, now let's evaluate ABC, and what can we learn from our doing that will improve next time?
I guess as a parting thought, I want to circle us back to the spot where you say all the magic happens, right? That middle manager level. What do you advise as far as getting that middle manager to buy in to being positive, right? So if you're coming to them to espouse, hey, listen, you need to start asking, your team is feeling some kind of way about you, and we would like them to feel positive about you. How do I get that person on board with this whole game?
Yeah, I would reverse engineer that question, is what I would do. We want you to feel positive about your work,
Mm.
Malcolm, middle manager. How can we help you improve, your performance and do the kinds of things where are the areas you're doing well in? 360 reviews done from a narrative approach, not just a survey monkey approach, are really, really helpful in that regard.
Yeah.
I can talk more about that later. But first, that middle manager's got to engage with work at a new level and understand that we're working together to be a positive work culture. It's kind of like to do it any other way would be like screaming at a toddler to shut up, and you're just trying to make your voice louder. If you get down on that toddler's level and whisper, okay, let's use your inside voice. Immediately the toddler. Now, I'm not saying middle managers are toddlers. I'm just saying all of us as human beings respond better when we're involved in the decision-making process.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's great. And as I mentioned to you, we have our kind of bite-sized digestible commitment. So I want to give, you an opportunity to say anything that we haven't touched on that you really have seen success with, or you have on your heart to kind of give us as your parting wisdom.
Yeah, let me share with you what I call the achievement prescription, Toby.
Yeah.
And that is pay attention to what's important. Those are positive thoughts and positive people, plus intention, that is your emotional engagement with your work, plus action. It counts only when you take action and you do something. And that's how you achieve a work positive culture in your particular organization.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us. And if folks want to get a hold of you, where's the best place to email or reach out, or LinkedIn or?
Yeah, go to LinkedIn and find me there. We're all over the place there. You can find the Work Positive podcast wherever fine podcasts like the H.I.T podcast are heard
That's
and
right.
seen, as well as you can go to workpositive.today, and I'll give you a free copy of my book, Work Positive Team Edition.
I think that's beautiful. Dr. Joey, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining us. And thank you guys. Thank you to our sponsors, Excel Health, TrueHue, Rula, Montage Insurance Solutions. Thank you guys for watching. That's all the time we have for you this week. Join us next week. Join us every week. And until next week, make this the best week yet.
There seems to be a suspicious vision in every little decision that's made already.